Hi, I'm Riley McManus. Welcome to Word for Word, where we offer you an in-depth look at some of our interviews with newsmakers from across the region. You'll have the opportunity to hear word for word how they responded to the news of the day. Registered nurses across Ontario and here in Thunder Bay hosted rallies last week to drum up public support in their contract battle with the Ford government. The Ontario Nurses Association is looking for more nurses, better care, and a significant wage hike.
So let's talk about the rally that's going on today, and of course, corresponding with plenty of rallies across the province as nurses speak out.
Yes, so as we speak, thousands of nurses in Toronto are protesting outside the Sheraton Hotel. This is our last day of negotiations. Obviously, being in the north, we can't attend that, so we are here today to stand united in solidarity to support our nurses here and nurses across Ontario.
Just talk about, I have a feeling that not everyone understands just how dire the situation is for nurses, not being able to see your patients, there's so many people, it's overload. Just talk about how dire it is inside the hospitals.
Yeah, so it all started years ago. Our bargaining rights were taken away with Bill 124, and we have not had a cost of living wage increase in 10 years. And so with that, the staffing shortages have begun to happen. And then add the pandemic in there, we've had masses of nurses leaving the profession, leaving the province to work elsewhere. And because of this massive decrease in nursing, we have increased workloads. So now nurses are responsible to taking care of double, triple the patient load, and that can look like 8 to 13 patients or more. And this is an acute care hospital, so these patients are very sick, and this is happening across Ontario. So with all that, we cannot take care of our patients properly. We cannot provide the quality care that we want to.
Just how disheartening is this, Chantel, that after everything that nurses and frontline workers were put through, the pandemic, trying to keep everyone safe, that this is how they're rewarded after we've made it out?
Really? That's okay. Nurses are burning out. We are sad that we cannot provide patient care. And when nurses are burning out, we're leaving. They're leaving. Great nurses with years of experience are leaving. New nurses are leaving the profession. This is not what we signed up for. These unsafe working conditions are not what we signed up for.
You mentioned how today's the last day of negotiations with the Hospital Association. Just, what's your confidence that an agreement can be made and somehow a solution can be found?
Yeah, so this is the last day. I'm hopeful that we can come to an agreement and our demands of better staffing, better wages, and better care for patients will be met. I'm hope that this is going to happen, but only time will tell.
So let's just talk about the march that's going on, not just here in Thunder Bay, but across Ontario.
That's right.
Nurses, making their voice known towards the Ford government.
That's right.
And just talk about, why this is such an important issue.
Well, it's very important because we've been limited to a 1% wage increase due to a bill that Doug Ford did that limited us to 1% a year for 3 years, and that has ended. So we're now in negotiations for the next 3 years, and we want, a respectable, decent wage increase. We want better staffing, better care, and better wages. And better wages will help us to retain the nurses we have and hopefully encourage more people to become a nurse.
Well, that's been a big thing, is losing so many nurses, whether it's burnout or after COVID, they just couldn't do it anymore, right?
Yes.
How much of a concern is that if we keep along this path, we're not going to have enough talented, trained nurses to care for people?
Yes, we're concerned because we need enough nurses to be able to give adequate care to our patients. We care for our patients. So, we really are in need of more nurses.
Now, today's the last day of negotiations down in Toronto. I asked Chantel this question as well. Just how confident are you that a resolution can be found today?
I'm not really sure. I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, and it would be wonderful. But In past contracts, we've ended up having to go to an arbitrator to settle it. So hopefully we won't have to this time.
8 people have been arrested in a high-profile fraud case involving fake artworks claimed to be painted by the late Norval Morrisseau. Investigators with Thunder Bay Police and the OPP announced the results of a 3-year-long probe at a news conference in Orillia on Friday. Police believe this is the biggest case of art fraud ever seen around the world.
To start off, I guess we just are hoping you can give a bit of background about how this investigation got started and what had prompted it.
Yes, Ian, it's Jason Ryback, Thunder Bay Police. So the investigation began in 2019 with Thunder Bay Police Service Major Crime Unit. At the time, I was investigating the murder of Scott Dove. And during that investigation, I was contacted by his mom. And she had asked me if I'd seen a documentary called There Are No Fakes. And in that documentary, there's some information about Scott's murder, and I had not. So I got the documentary, I watched it. And through watching that documentary led me to contacting Kevin Hearn, who was the victim that the documentary was about. And from there really was the jump off point of the investigation. In Thunder Bay, we began, members of the Major Crime Unit began writing search warrants. We executed some in the city. I know there's some social media from back then of us doing a search warrant at Gary Lamont's house. And as the investigation continued, we knew we had fraudulent art, but we didn't really know how to do that investigation. And so we reached out to the FBI art crime team out of Los Angeles. We reached out to the FBI art crime team out of Los Angeles, who they do this on a daily basis. And they provided us some guidance and ways on how to move the investigation forward. And as we kept going, we were seizing more and more. We were getting into hundreds of paintings being seized in Thunder Bay. And our senior administration really supported the investigation moving forward. And at that point knew that it was getting international in nature and we needed other resources and assistance from the OPP to come in. And in 2020, that ask was made by our senior administration and the Detective Inspector Veyu was assigned from the OPP Criminal Investigations Branch to oversee the investigation, in which the senior leadership assigned 3 Thunder Bay members full-time. And as you know, Ian, that's a big resource drain for our service, but they believed in this investigation and they believed in supporting it. And so 3 of us from the Major Crime Unit were assigned full-time as investigators.
And can you put today's announcement in context? Like, is this an ongoing investigation that could result in further charges down the road, or is this the culmination?
There is the possibility, it's Kevin Veyu here now. There is a possibility, depending on how things go. At this point, we are not considering charges for anybody else. We made the arrests of the 8 people, laid the 40 charges. Throughout the process as we move forward, we're aware that the media attention that this is garnering and gathering today, there's going to be, without a doubt, people that have concerns that they have a suspect or fraudulent type painting. So we've put some things into place in the media information directing to legal counsel. But based on how that evolves, there's always the potential that there could be evidence to support additional charges against some of the accused presently before the courts, and additionally others. But we don't, at this point, we're not anticipating any peripheral people being arrested.
I'm sure there's probably a lot you can't or don't want to go into right now, but anything you can say about like key moments that help both services crack this case, whether that's, I don't know, if maybe some of these accused cooperated or particular searches, anything you can say about that?
I think we'll probably both have a little bit to say on that. It's a very lengthy investigation to begin with. Jason provided information on Thunder Bay Police Service and the provision of the resources. the OPP also provided a number of resources, and we had a core team throughout this. As we progressed and evolved in the investigation, we learned certain things through witness evidence. We partnered with some organizations, and I'm being vague, but to ensure the integrity of the investigation, I will continue to do that at this point. But I can say that these organizations that worked with us did some amazing forensic testing on paintings that has been extremely beneficial in positioning us and getting us to the point where we laid charges. So there's been a lot of good moments in the case. Back to your question, we've had some really good results on some of these things that have really pushed this case along.
Yeah, and Ian, I think, just to kind of illustrate this, and when we went into this investigation with the OPP, we had a very dedicated team of officers from Thunder Bay Police and the OPP, and one of the strategies we looked at was we wanted to reconstruct Norval's life. And so part of this investigation is we went out and tracked down people who were involved with Norval from the early days, including 2 of the surviving members of the Indigenous Group of 7, to talk about how he painted, the styles, what he did, what he didn't do. That was a big component to this. We worked tirelessly, I can tell you, with the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. Sharon Godwin there was a great resource for us. I don't know if you know this, but the Thunder Bay Art Gallery has one of the bigger collections in Canada of his art.
He found out very quickly, and I don't want to speak for him, but he found out very quickly the size and scope of this as they were executing warrants and seizing a substantial amount of paintings, and in association with witness evidence, led him to believe that this was going to continue to grow. At that point, he engaged the OPP through his leadership. I was assigned as case manager. My initial involvement, I could see what they'd done up to the point, the amazing work and what the Thunder Bay Police Service had done. And I knew that there was a potential for a substantial amount of fake paintings to be out there. I don't know that I could have said on the day I was assigned that there could be 4,500 to 6,000 paintings. I think that would have really surprised the heck out of me. But as we progressed and we saw the extent and the size of the fraud, the different groups involved, and what they did to manufacture, distribute, sale, it just grew exponentially, and I think surprised us all at the end.
The warm weather this weekend was perfect for the 700 participants who were skiing the trails at Sleeping Giant Provincial Park for the 44th annual Sleeping Giant Law Fit, the first since 2020.
So we talked about this before. It hasn't happened in a while. How has the response been?
Response has been great. We're down a little bit in terms of the number of people that participated, but there's all kinds of reasons for that with the amount of sickness that's going around in the community right now. So, but we're still thrilled about 700 participants in this year's event, and we'll grow back up again to 800 or 900 next year, I'm sure.
We saw some people traveling from pretty far distances away. How good is that to see those people out and coming just to us?
It's fantastic. We think of the event as a tourist attraction for the community, and so we try to publicize the event in the United States and across the country. So yeah, we're happy. Probably some from British Columbia today, some from Vermont today. So it's great to have the international flavor to it, and then some all the way from Armstrong, Ontario. Right, with our last award ceremony, we had some from Sioux Lookout and some from Armstrong. So it's really nice to have the whole Northwestern Ontario included.
What do you think brings people back to this event every year?
It's the weather. We promise fantastic weather every year, and this year we held to that promise. But it's the camaraderie. People love to cross-country ski, but when you're doing that, you're usually out there by yourself. But here you 700 other people, and you come across the finish line. Friends are cheering for you, and it's just a family fun event.
Now, both of the winners of the 50K races, They were both the states. Do you have any words of advice for our Canadian competitors to be on top of their game next year?
You know what? I think one of the issues related to that is that the national championships are here starting next weekend. And I think some of the elite skiers from the city who would normally participate in this event chose not to do that. I know some of them have told me that they can't do a 50-kilometer event 1 week ahead of the national championships, and so that's why there's a fewer number of elite skiers. Because we have the the National Team Development Center here in Thunder Bay that produces elite male and female skiers who normally, many of them are on the podium.
St. John's Ambulance has launched their 15th annual Spring into Summer trailer draw. As usual, there are 3 exciting prizes to be won, and all money raised supports the work the service does.
Just first question off the bat, obviously draw launched today. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, this is our 15th annual Spring to Summer campaign, so we're really excited about it. We've changed the draw up a little bit this year. We are finding that some people thought the trailer was too big to tow, and others, when they won it, figured that maybe I'm going to sell it. So what we decided to do this year is we have given the winner, the option of either a 26-foot travel trailer or $40,000 in cash. So this year, they'll be up to the winner, which they choose to do.
So a little different. Tell me about the second and third place prizes as well, because those are pretty cool. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining if they don't win first and they pick up one of those.
No, second, third prizes are really cool. Our second prize is 2 generators that marry together, so you have lots of power from J&J Sports. And our third prize is the Fisherman's Kayak and a $500 Canadian Tire gift card. So pretty good prizes.
Talk a little bit about the impact that this draw has on St. John's Ambulance. It's I believe your largest fundraiser of the year, if not one of the largest fundraisers of the year, and what it allows you to do in the community.
This draw definitely is our largest fundraiser of the year, absolutely. If it wasn't for this draw, we wouldn't be able to keep up with the services that we provide in the community, which is our medical first response team, our youth program, our therapy dog volunteers, our car seat education program. So there's lots of different services we provide to the community, most all free of charge, and this is where the revenue comes in to help those programs be sustainable.
So how do we get a ticket if we're interested?
You buy a ticket right here. You can also go online. We're using Rafflebox this year, so you go online, you purchase your ticket, you'll get an email back saying giving you a confirmation number, and then the girls here, our volunteers, will send you out the ticket, and you can pick it up either by mail or you can pick it up here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the St. John Ambulance branch.
This draw always has an excitement level around it. There's and a lot of interest in it. What do you think?
I think a lot of people are interested in outdoors. They're interested, I think, just the actual timing of the draw. People are wanting it to be spring. We've had enough winter. Spring's coming. Let's get going. You see travel trailers, and now you're going to see cash. What are you going to do with that cash to make your summer more exciting? So it's always had that kind of that feel of let's spring into summer, and that's kind of goes right with the name of the draw, right?
Okay, and maybe you can remind us when the draw itself is and when should be keeping an eye out for that call or whatever that may be.
The early bird draw is on April 26th, so we have 4 early bird prizes there, and then the main draw is on June the 28th. So everyone will have the trailer before July, or their cash.
Perfect. Yeah. Anything we might have missed that you'd like to add on this?
I just want to say thanks to the communities, the citizens of Thunder Bay, Northwestern Ontario. They've really supported this draw, and I know they will continue to support it, and we just want to really spread our thanks around. We couldn't do it without you guys.
Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Word for Word. We'll be back again tomorrow with more interviews from across the Northwest.